Alright, so we're going to start learning about how to fingerprint and the identifications that you can make within fingerprints so that you can recognize fingerprints on your own. So there are different interesting facts about fingerprints. First off, they're developed in the fetal stage, and they never change throughout your entire life unless you burn yourself and get a scar or cut yourself and get a scar. Your fingerprints will be the same throughout your entire life. They will never change. So this video that you see that is linked, I will also put in the file for your Google Classroom. And it is a nice little video that goes through the stages of like how it's formed and how unique they are. It's a very informational video I feel like you guys should watch, and there's a section in your notes for you to write down something interesting that you learned in that video, so make sure you go back and do it if you haven't done so already. So each one of your fingers is its own unique fingerprint ridge pattern, and that it belongs only to you. No one else, not even your twin, has it. It's very unique to every single finger. So you have fingerprints because it actually makes things easier to pick up, to hold, to grasp. And each one of your fingertips actually secretes, they have sweat glands in them, and they secrete an oily liquid, and this is what happens when you touch objects. You leave behind what are called latent prints. So you can see here in this image that this is someone's fingerprint. You can see all the little well-defined ridges that have been magnified, and you can see here on this glass the print has been left behind with the oil from your fingerprints. So this is known as individual evidence. This is really, really important, and so I don't want you to forget this. The difference between individual and class evidence is something we will discuss many times throughout the forensics class. And the difference is that individual evidence will be unique to you. Will be unique to that specific individual. It does not identify anyone else. It identifies you and you alone. Whereas class evidence is actually going to maybe identify multiple individuals. So this is going to be things like maybe your shoe size and maybe the print of your shoe, that can identify what brand of shoe you have and what size it is, maybe what fibers you have in your shirt. Somebody else can also have the same shoe size and the same shoe brand as well as the same shirt. And even like maybe you have the similar soil in your front yard as your neighbor does, or you use the same type of pin as your friend does. So that is class evidence, and that's because of the fact that it identifies a whole group of people as possibly your suspect. So it does not identify one single person. In order to make a record of your prints, you just need an ink pad and a piece of paper, and you press your right thumb down onto the ink pad, and then you press it on the paper. At this point, I'm going to kind of want you guys to do some practice on your own. You're going to want to make a record actually in your notes. Now, you might want to take a scrap piece of paper and practice a few times so that you actually have figured out how to do this, because it's not as easy as it sounds. You want to make sure the print is of the center of your thumb, not the tip. The tip's not going to give you a very good idea of what is actually there. we're going to go through in a little bit, and you're going to actually be able to look at your ridges and see and identify the different types of things that you can find in a fingerprint and actually be able to label them. So this is important. So the center area of your thumb contains the part of your print that allows you to identify it. And what you'll do is you'll actually take your thumb and you'll roll it across the ink pad, and then you'll roll it across the white paper. And you can see this print that we have on the left has been smudged. Is not very easy to see any of the pattern, while the print on the right is what you're aiming for. You can clearly see the ridge pattern and the little loops and whirls throughout your fingerprints. So if you're not getting a good print, it could be because you have too much ink on your finger, too little ink on your finger. You might be pushing too hard, and it'll leave an incomplete print. So you have to be careful when you're pressing your finger not to roll it or slide it across the paper. I'm going to include another video in which I'm showing you exactly how to do this, but you want to make sure your finger is on the paper and it rolls across it, not sliding or smearing the ink. If we look here, you can see this first one on the left, the person had way too much ink. It's not legible. The one next to it is a whole lot easier to read. You can see the ridges. That's a pretty good print. The two after that, they are a whole lot worse with either too much ink or being smudged. So you want to be careful when you're doing this. Slow down and take your time. Make sure you're doing it correctly. I'm going to give you a note card, and I actually want you to, on the note card, I want you to make 4 or 5 right thumb prints on the blank side, not on the side with the lines. So on the blank side. And then I don't want you to label it at all. And then you're going to make a record also on the right thumbprint record form. And you're going to put 5 perfect right thumb prints in the boxes along the bottom of the page. And then you want to turn both of those into me so we can use them later on for an activity to kind of help identify different thumbprints. Okay, so make sure you have both of these and that you're making a record of your thumbprint. On the note card, you do not label it. On the record form, you will need to label it. So you want to come pick these up from me and go ahead and get started trying to capture your print.